So when a nation faces a real financial crisis, I mean a complete meltdown, who actually gets paid first?
You'd think it would be, hospitals or maybe pensioners who've worked their whole lives.
Right, but it's not. It's the person, or really the fund, with the best, most ironclad legal contract.
It all comes down to a pretty brutal, legally enforced hierarchy. We call it seniority. And you should think of debt less like a circle and more like a sinking ship.
And the citizens are the ballast thrown overboard.
Exactly. The people in the lifeboats. They're the ones with specific legal clauses that guarantee they get paid before anyone else.
So for our deep dive today, let's unpack those clauses. Let's look at the enforcement mechanisms that let creditors seize assets from sovereign countries. Okay, let's start with a wild, real-world example. It's October 2012. An Argentine naval training ship, the ARA Libertad, is just sitting in a port in Ghana.
And then suddenly it's surrounded. Local authorities seize the vessel.
Which is just crazy. I think most people would assume you need, military force to seize a naval ship, but this was a court order.
It was, and this is the textbook playbook for what we call a Vulture fund. In this case, it was NML Capital Management, part of Elliott Management.
And their whole business model is what?
They buy up defaulted government debt for pennies on the dollar, sometimes less than 10 cents, with the sole purpose of suing for 100% repayment.
So they went asset hunting.
They did, and they argued in court that since the ship made ceremonial port calls, it was sort of commercial, which let them get around sovereign immunity. They held that ship hostage for 77 days.
So the seizure was the muscle, but the real power was in the fine print, right? The weapon they used was this little Latin clause.
Pari passu.
Which means on equal footing.
Exactly. And this is where they basically rewrote international bond law. They weaponized pari passu. Argentina was trying to pay the 90-something% of creditors who agreed to a haircut, a restructuring deal.
The NML were the holdouts.
They were the holdouts. They went to a New York court and argued, hey, pari passu means if you pay them, you have to pay us in full on equal footing.
Hang on. So a U.S. judge can effectively force a sovereign nation into default, even on the creditors who agreed to the deal.
That's precisely what happened. It was a financial nuclear option. The court literally blocked Argentina's payments to everyone else, creating this total stalemate until Argentina finally gave in and paid them in 2016.
That just shows you where the real power is. It's not in parliaments, it's in courtrooms and contract law.
It absolutely is.
Okay, so let's shift to the modern twist on this, because this is where it connects directly back to you listening at home. The money funding these shadow creditors isn't just from shadowy tycoons.
No, a lot of the time it's just ordinary people's money.
Yeah.
It's pension funds, university endowments.
And why are they in on this?
Well, think about it. A pension fund has massive long-term bills to pay. They have to maximize returns, which pushes them into riskier things, like this kind of debt, which is managed by experts who are paid to get these Vulture-style profits.
So as the system evolves, the enforcement moves from bank accounts to what? Physical things?
Exactly, to physical resources. Which brings us to the new collateral trap, often called the Angola model.
This is where developing nations borrow cash, often from China, but they don't repay in money. They repay in physical assets, like oil.
Angola had to repay over $20 billion in loans this way, with direct oil shipments. But here's the trap.
Oh.
The debt was valued in barrels, not dollars. So when oil prices crashed in 2014, Angola was stuck. The price halved. So they suddenly had to ship twice the physical volume of oil just to meet their debt payments.
Wow. So you lose control of your country's main export just to service a loan. That's brutal. And I guess the ultimate example of this kind of sovereign foreclosure is Sri Lanka.
The Hambantota port, yes.
Yeah.
They took on a huge loan, couldn't generate the revenue to pay it back, and in 2017 were forced to hand over control of this hugely strategic port to a Chinese state-owned company.
On a 99-year lease.
A 99-year lease. See, lenders love these loans because you can't hide a port, you can't devalue an oil field. The debt is just the tool. The resource is the real prize.
So it creates this very clear pyramid of who matters.
It does. At the very top are the secured creditors, the ones with LUNs, a legal claim on physical assets, the ports, the mines.
Then you have the senior bondholders, which, again, could be your pension fund.
And at the very bottom, last in line, are the citizens. They're the ones who get the austerity that cuts to public services.
So the global economy is just drowning in these LINs, these legal claims on national assets. If you really want to know where things are heading, don't watch the stock market, watch the collateral. Ask yourself this: what national assets are being quietly pledged as we speak?